A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. Good morning, and welcome to our national news blog for Tuesday, December 5th. My name is Emily Kaine, and I'll be helming our coverage this morning on what will be the last day of our national blog for 2025 until our return next year. Here's what is making news today. Labor is weighing an unprecedented federal intervention to start bulk buying natural gas from East Coast producers and selling it to local businesses at discounted rates as it seeks to head off shutdowns of manufacturing plants battling soaring energy costs. The move could be announced as early as next week. The Pentagon's review of the AUKUS Defense Pact has affirmed the deal's existing timeline, but warned that all three countries must meet critical deadlines for the project to succeed, a person who has read it says. The much-anticipated review, which took nearly 6 months to complete, has been read by members of the Congressional Armed Services Committees and handed to the Australian government. The Pentagon did not intend to make the review public, a spokesman said. Stay with us as we continue to bring you rolling news updates from Australia and beyond throughout the morning. Health Minister Mark Butler has staunchly defended the government's social media ban this morning, despite reports that children under the age of 16 have already found ways to get around age restrictions on some banned platforms. Well, the technology exists to verify age according to facial analysis. That's all of the advice that we've been given, and these platforms now have 5 days to get their act together if some of it's not working, because the platforms face some very hefty fines, up to $50 million if they breach these new world-leading laws, Butler told 7 Sunrise this morning. I can't say enough about these laws, not just as a parent, but as a health minister. I'm absolutely horrified by what these platforms, what these technologies are doing to young people, to their mental health, to their learning development, to basic social development as well. Pressed on how the government plans to enforce its age restrictions on banned platforms, Butler said these platforms have had a lot of notice. The eSafety Commissioner and others are working with them to make sure that they are ready. You know, they've got enormous resources to make sure this technology works. So 5 days really they've got. On the 10th of December, they are liable for very, very big fines if they don't act to protect our kids. The FBI arrested and charged a man suspected of planting pipe bombs in Washington the night before the January 6, 2021, assault on the U.S. Capitol by supporters of President Donald Trump, Attorney General Pam Bondi said. The authorities released surveillance video, offered a $500,000 US $756,000 reward, and received hundreds of tips in a years-long search for the suspect in the incident that took place nearly 5 years ago. The footage from January 5, 2021, showed a person putting a bomb near a bench outside the Democratic National Committee building. The suspect placed another bomb at the Republican headquarters. Both sites are near the Capitol. The suspect is Brian Cole Jr., Bondi said. Cole, 30, of Woodbridge, Virginia, lives with his parents and works for a bail bond company, according to a source briefed on the matter. Attorney General Pam Bondi, credit AP, he has been charged with transporting an explosive device and attempting malicious destruction, Bloomberg reported, citing court documents. The bombs were discovered on the same day Trump supporters stormed Congress in an attempt to stop lawmakers from certifying Democrat Joe Biden's 2020 presidential election victory. Police deactivated the bombs, and neither exploded. In the January 6th melee at the Capitol, rioters surged past police barricades, assaulting about 140 officers and causing millions of dollars worth of damage. Trump pardoned nearly everyone criminally charged for participating in the riot, some 1,500 people, when he returned to office in January. Reuters staying with Canavan. The national senator said this morning that children's social media use should be the decision of parents, not the government, as Labor's world-first social media ban is set to come into effect on December 10th. I voted against this bill as well. There are major issues, of course, with social media. But where are the parents here? Why aren't the parents involved? Nationals Senator Matt Canavan. Credit, Dominic Lorimer. What about the people who are 18 and are going to be kicked out because they seem to be 14? There's going to be mistakes both ways, and that's where the parents should be involved. There should be an out clause here that allow parents to approve social media use regardless of what the government says your kids can do, he told Today. Canavan also hit out at Communications Minister Anika Wells for the cost of her September trip to New York to spruik the social media ban, which was revealed to have totaled $190,000. Well, it might have been good if she didn't spend $100,000 of taxpayer money getting there, he said. Wells billed taxpayers $70,000 to host an event while she was in New York, after she, a staffer and a public servant, spent almost $100,000 on flights to attend the United Nations General Assembly. National Senator Matt Canavan has slammed the government and Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke for a sneaky, secret meeting his department conducted with Save the Children last year regarding the return of 6 former Islamic State brides and their children to Australia. This looks incredibly sneaky from the government, with secret meetings with departmental staff being kicked out of meetings, and so we don't really know what went on, Canavan told the Today Show this morning. The first thing that needs to happen here is the minister needs to be upfront with the Australian people what was discussed with these charities. Because I think the other thing here is that we have laws. We have laws that are passed in this parliament that put obligations of the minister, rightly so, to protect our national security, our country, to make sure the proper processes have been followed when someone comes into Australia. And the question here is, did the minister follow those laws? Because we don't really know. The opposition has alleged the government had conspired to secretly return the 6 women returned to Australia in September. In a statement, Burke said the notes confirm what the government has always said. There was a request from Save the Children to conduct a repatriation operation. It was refused. The Pentagon's review of the AUKUS Defense Pact has affirmed the deal's existing timeline, but warns that all 3 countries must meet critical deadlines for the project to succeed, a person who has read it says. The much-anticipated review, which took nearly 6 months to complete, has been read by members of the Congressional Armed Services Committees and handed to the Australian government. The Pentagon does not intend to make the review public, a spokesman said. Elbridge Colby, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy and an AUKUS skeptic, led the review. Credit: Bloomberg Democratic Congressman Joe Courtney, who is on the Armed Services Committee and co-chairs the Friends of Australia caucus, said the review confirmed the most contentious part of the deal, the sale of 3 Virginia-class nuclear-powered submarines to Australia, starting in 2032. But it also stressed that the pact required all 3 countries, Australia, the US, and United Kingdom, to meet certain milestones in preparatory work. The report correctly determined that there are critical deadlines that all 3 countries have to meet, Courtney said. Therefore, maintaining disciplined adherence to schedule is paramount. Labor is weighing an unprecedented federal intervention to start bulk buying natural gas from East Coast producers and selling it to local businesses at discounted rates as it seeks to head off shutdowns of manufacturing plants battling soaring energy costs. This move would complement a domestic gas reservation scheme, due to be announced as early as next week. The federal government would use its purchasing power to act as a group buyer to sell gas to particular manufacturers at discounted rates. The federal government is poised to become a bulk buyer of gas in a bid to stop factories shutting down due to high energy prices. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.